Hello, and welcome to my capstone project presentation. My name is Lori O'Neill, and I am an Energy and Sustainability Policy student at Penn State University. I promise if you stick around with me for the next 45 minutes, the presentation will be educational and a little entertaining. My capstone project researches the question, should Congress continue to increase funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program? Based on my research, I formed a solid argument supporting the position that Congress should increase funding. This argument will be discussed later in the presentation. First, I would like to share with you some information as to why I chose this topic as my capstone project. The Weatherization Assistance Program, also known by its acronym WAP, is a federal program managed by the Department of Energy. WAP was created in 1976 with the goal to reduce the burden of energy costs on low-income households. To date, WAP has proven cost-effective with a savings on investment ratio of 2.51. What this means is that for every dollar invested in WAP, WAP returns $2.51. In the spring of 2013, the duplex my grandfather rents to tenants was weatherized through funds provided by WAP. At the time, I was unfamiliar with WAP, but very interested in finding out how these cost-saving weatherization upgrades did not cost my grandfather or his tenant a penny. So what exactly are these weatherization measures supported by WAP? According to the Department of Energy, WAP's weatherization projects differ in many ways from what is commonly called weatherizing your home. Weatherizing your home projects include low-cost improvements such as weather stripping to doors or windows to save energy, whereas WAP projects also include the following: replacement of heating systems, installation of energy-saving light bulbs, replacement of hot water tanks, and also replacing any other inefficient appliances. After my discovery of WAP in 2013, I told my grandfather that WAP would be my capstone project topic for the Energy and Sustainability Policy Program. Next, I'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation about WAP, but don't worry, you'll see me again later. This section of the presentation provides research and analysis of the policy question, should Congress continue to increase funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program? If you have any questions or comments regarding the information, I would enjoy hearing from you, so feel free to comment on this video using YouTube. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation. First, we're going to take a look at my research of the Weatherization Assistance Program. I think you're going to find this section interesting, as I did, because when I first learned of the Weatherization Assistance Program, and to remind you, that was when my grandfather got his duplex that he rents out weatherized using funds available through WAP, I was interested in learning what this program was all about. So in this research section, we're going to take a look at the current status of WAP funding. And in that section, we're going to discuss what President Obama proposed for his fiscal 2015 budget, how much funds he wanted appropriated to WAP, and also the history of WAP funding, how much has been funded in the past. Next, we're going to take a look at the background of WAP, and that's going to include information regarding client eligibility, what income levels do you have to be at to qualify for WAP, and also the metrics that the Department of Energy uses to determine how much money individual states get for their Weatherization Assistance Program block grants. Next, we're going to take a look at the WAP issues, the issues that are centered around the program that have happened in the past and have been corrected now. And finally, based on these issues that have happened, there have been some groups of people, some stakeholders that have called for eliminating the program. So we're going to take a look at that. I think you'll find that section very interesting. To understand the context of my topic question, should Congress continue to increase funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program? We're going to take a look at the history of WAP funding. WAP's funding in the 1980s was relatively low compared to the funding amounts between 2001 and 2008. In the 1990s, WAP's funding levels began to increase. For the topic question, we're going to take a look at the years 2001 to 2014 and WAP's funding levels. This graph shows the President's request for WAP funding compared to the actual amount that Congress appropriated from the years 2001 to 2014. The orange line shows what the President's request for funding was, and the blue line shows what Congress actually appropriated to the program. The years 2001 to 2008, the funding averaged about $235 million per year. In 2009, we see something very interesting happening. This is when the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, otherwise known as the Recovery Act, provided an additional $5 billion in WAP funding. After that, there was still WAP funding from the Recovery Act remaining up until the year 2012. In the year 2013, we see things getting back on track to sort of mirror what happened in those previous years prior to the Recovery Act. However, we still see big decreases in funding relative to that period of 2001 to 2008. What happens in 2015 is not shown on this because it hasn't actually happened yet because Congress has not passed the budget. But what happened in March 2014, President Obama requested $222.7 million in WAP funding for fiscal year 2015. And if approved, this would represent a 31% increase from 2014's appropriation. So, what are these WAP funds used for exactly? They're used for weatherization measures to improve energy efficiency in low income households, which can result in lower energy bills. These measures can include insulating attics with cellulose. Cellulose is more energy efficient than fiberglass and can also improve the R value of a home. Another action is repairing or replacing water heaters. For example, heat pump water heaters are 2 to 3 times more energy efficient than conventional electricity water heaters because the heat pump water heaters use electricity to move heat instead of generating heat. A relatively quick and inexpensive way to improve a home's energy efficiency is through window films. I actually did this in my own home, and I'm going to show you in the next slide how that works. The average cost for weatherization services per home is $6,500. In this experiment, I would like to show you how window films can be used to control the sun's heat energy coming into your home through windows during the summer months. What I have here is a rhodometer, and the rhodometer's panes are spinning because heat energy is making them spin. To create that heat energy, I'm using an incandescent bulb because it gives off a lot of heat energy. And it's funny because this is the first time I had to buy an incandescent bulb in many years because I use CFL lighting and there's not a lot of heat energy coming out of it, which is a good thing. So the rhodometer's panes are still spinning. I'm going to show you the window film. Window film is a very inexpensive material and it fits on your windows, really easy to install, easy to remove, and additionally, it doesn't cause any damage to your windows. What I'm doing now is placing the window film in front of the rhodometer to get those panes to stop spinning because it's going to reflect the heat energy from the incandescent. And those panes are slowing down. And what's significant about this is the National Renewable Energy Laboratory reports that 40% of the unwanted heat that builds up in your home comes in through the windows. But the solar films can be used to reflect as much as 80% of the incoming heat. Installing window films is a relatively quick, easy, and inexpensive way to improve your home's energy efficiency. Window films are also used in the Weatherization Assistance Program to increase the energy efficiency of low-income households, which can reduce energy bills. Next, we'll take a look at the eligibility requirements for the Weatherization Assistance Program. Individual states determine WAP eligibility requirements. For the most part, these are households that fall at or below 200% of the poverty level, and this is evident in this graph here. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, as many as 20 to 30 million U.S. families may be eligible for WAP because these households fall at or below 200% of the poverty level. After the Department of Energy receives WAP funding for the year, it determines individual state funding based on established metrics. Currently, WAP's most important metric is the number of homes weatherized in each state. For fiscal year 2014, the total WAP appropriation of $179 million was distributed entirely to the states, with the highest funding amount going to New York at $15.8 million and the lowest funding amount going to Hawaii at $161,218. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory identifies expected WAP outcomes for short-term, medium-term, and long-term timeframes. For the short term, which is 1 to 3 months after weatherization, energy efficiency, safety, and the comfort of the weatherized home is immediately increased. WAP clients also have an increased knowledge of energy saving strategies. For the medium term, 1 year after weatherization services, energy consumption in weatherized home is reduced, which leads to reduced energy bills and energy burdens for the clients. Non-energy benefits are realized by the clients, utility ratepayers, and society as a whole, especially those related to the reduction in pollution and greenhouse gases from reduced energy use. For the long term, which is 1 year after weatherization services, reducing energy use and energy burdens on low-income clients should lead to a reduction in the gap between the energy needs of the low-income community and the available resources to meet this need. The low-income community should be less susceptible to rising energy prices and market fluctuations, and clients should have more funds available to make non-energy purchases. Non-energy benefits realized by the community as a result of WAP include improved health and safety, better housing stock, and job creation. Next, I'll be discussing the cost effectiveness of the Weatherization Assistance Program. This information is extremely important because I'm going to be using it a lot in my analysis section. Although I will be discussing a lot of information here, what I want you to remember is that WAP is cost effective as its savings on investment return is currently at 2.51. This means that for every dollar invested in WAP, WAP returns $2.51. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory is responsible for reporting WAP's cost effectiveness. ORNL determines WAP's cost effectiveness based on the following benefits related to energy impacts and non-energy impacts. For energy impacts, these benefits are the savings noted on the energy bills due to WAP's energy efficiency improvements in weatherized homes. Non-energy impact benefits consist of health, societal, and economic benefits such as improvement in indoor air quality, measured change in carbon monoxide levels, pounds of carbon dioxide emitted per unit of energy saved, and average number of unemployed workers given jobs per dollar spent on weatherization. With these energy and non-energy benefits realized, WAP's savings to investment ratio is 2.51. The specific breakdown for every $1 investment is that WAP returns $1.80 in energy saving benefits for low income households and 71 cents in non energy benefits for society. Although this SIR is very impressive, there have been problems with the Weatherization Assistance Program. Fraudulent actions were discovered in Delaware when weatherization contractors often skipped inexpensive but effective measures like insulating attics or sealing gaps, and instead installed costly furnaces, windows, and doors. According to Alan Luzak, a weatherization expert from the Delaware Energy Office, a cash grab occurred when these contractors sought more expensive efficiency improvements. Once the fraud was discovered, Delaware auditors revisited weatherized homes to check the quality of work, look for billing issues, and decide what remediation needs to be done. In addition to Delaware's actions, the Department of Energy conducted audits that revealed Delaware's weatherization program had insufficient staffing, lack of documentation, insufficient training of staff, auditors, and contractors, insufficient monitoring of subgrantees and vendors, and the processing of work that was not an allowable cost for weatherization. In response to the Department of Energy audit, Delaware suspended its Weatherization Assistance Program in 2010. After reviewing its weatherization program and making appropriate changes, Delaware reinstated WAP with the assurance that all WAP auditors and installers are routinely monitored by performance evaluations. Although the Delaware issue was corrected, there are other ongoing issues with the Weatherization Assistance Program. Although benefits are realized, some weatherized units produce less than expected changes in levels of energy consumption after weatherization. Several potential causes of underperforming weatherized homes include more energy consuming equipment may be bought or used after weatherization. It is possible that some households purchase or use more energy consuming equipment, such as deep freezers, new television sets, computers, clothes dryers, after weatherization. This would affect the predicted energy performance of the home. Another reason for underperforming homes is a poorly done energy audit. It could be that some auditors need additional training or that they tend to recommend measures that occupants want, but that do not contribute much to the overall energy efficiency of the home. Another reason is substandard installation of measures. These include the following actions. Some weatherization measures might not be installed properly. Recommended installation levels might not be met. Furnaces may not be properly tuned up, and some recommended measures are simply not installed. Such issues could reduce observed energy savings in homes. The final reason for underperforming weatherized homes is the lack of recipient energy education. Anyone from multifamily building owners and managers to residents in single family units may lack effective and comprehensive energy education. In the analysis section, we will take a more extensive look at this. To prepare you for the analysis section, I'm going to provide you with some information regarding WAP stakeholders. First, we'll start with the WAP supporting stakeholders. The National Association for State Community Service Programs, or NASCSP, is a WAP supporting stakeholder. Their vision directly aligns with WAP's goal to help reduce the burden of energy bills on low income households. According to NASCSP, their vision encompasses the empowerment of low income families to reach self sufficiency in its broadest context through helping states attain full utilization of their resources and implement an extensive array of services to these families, including weatherization, energy assistance, childcare, nutrition, employment, state energy programs, and job training. Community Housing Partners, or CHP, is another WAP supporting stakeholder. Their mission is to empower people to live in well kept, energy efficient, affordable surroundings. In 2014, CHP was ranked as one of the nation's top 50 affordable housing owners by Affordable Housing Finance magazine. Their mission directly aligns with WAP's goals. Another WAP supporting stakeholder is the National Association of Energy Service Companies, or NAESCO. NAESCO promotes the interests of the energy efficiency industry and members through advocacy in state and federal legislation proceedings. Demonstrating its support for WAP, NAESCO has consistently supported WAP funding increases. WAP opposing stakeholders include the Republican Study Committee, Citizens Against Government Waste, and Americans for Prosperity. The Republican Study Committee, or RSC, is a governmental caucus of the Republican Party in the U.S. House of Representatives. RSC's mission is to report wasteful and duplicative government spending. WAP directly conflicts with RSC's mission. According to RSC, WAP and the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program are duplicate programs. Elimination of WAP would save roughly $2.1 billion over 10 years. Another WAP opposing stakeholder is Citizens Against Government Waste, or CAGW. CAGW's mission is to eliminate waste, mismanagement, and inefficiency within the federal government. WAP directly conflicts with CAGW's mission. According to CAGW, WAP is a Carter-era Department of Energy program whose budget had loitered at about $250 million for years until the Recovery Act pumped it up to about $5 billion. And it is the most egregious program contained in the pork-laden stimulus. Americans for Prosperity, or AFP, is another WAP opposing stakeholder. According to AFP, it is committed to educating citizens about economic policy and mobilizing those citizens as advocates in the public policy process. AFP estimates that eliminating the Weatherization Assistance Program would save $2.3 billion over 10 years. Moving to the analysis section, I'm going to restate the topic question. Should Congress continue to increase funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program? Using the research provided thus far in this presentation, I'm going to present to you the reason why I support Congress increasing funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program. The arguments supporting this position are Congress should increase WAP funding because WAP is essential to reducing the burden of energy bills on U.S. low-income households. Second, Congress should increase WAP funding because WAP's savings on investment ratio can increase with additional investment for comprehensive client energy behavior education. For the first argument, Congress should increase WAP funding because WAP is essential to reducing the burden of energy bills on U.S. low-income households. We will take a look at the viewpoints of the WAP opposing stakeholders discussed in the previous section. WAP opponents do not support an increase in WAP funding, and in some cases, they advocate for eliminating WAP. Stakeholders include fiscally conservative interest groups such as the Citizens Against Government Waste, or CAGW, and the Republican Study Committee, RSC. The RSC is a governmental caucus within the U.S. House of Representatives. In 2011, the RSC called for WAP's elimination because they believe the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LHEAP, and WAP are duplicate programs. Eliminating WAP would save approximately $2.1 billion over 10 years. According to the opposing WAP stakeholder, CAGW, WAP is a Carter-era Department of Energy program and is egregious. My position is WAP is not egregious. It continues to return more savings than its investment. During the research section, I told you to remember one important thing. WAP's saving to investment ratio is 2.51. That's not egregious. My second position is WAP is not entirely redundant to LHEAP. There are four distinct differences between LHEAP and WAP. First, LHEAP makes direct payments to reduce low-income household energy bills, whereas WAP results in actual energy bill reductions due to increased household energy efficiency. I will elaborate on this statement. WAP reduces energy bill costs at $1.80 per $1 investment. Given both programs are low-income social programs, it is possible for a household to receive both WAP and LHEAP. Therefore, increases in a weatherized home's energy efficiency without increasing energy consumption will reduce household LHEAP subsidized payments. This negatively correlated relationship between LHEAP payments and WAP energy bill savings suggests more investment should be designated for WAP. Although LHEAP and WAP are not duplicate programs, LHEAP funding not allocated for direct home energy bill payments and energy crisis assistance can be used for weatherization services. State LHEAP offices may use up to 15% of their LHEAP block grant to fund WAP-related activities. In 2012, LHEAP funds represented 48.3% of total WAP funding, according to the Weatherization Assistance Program's Technical Assistance Center. The next difference between LHEAP and WAP is that LHEAP subsidized energy payments do not directly provide incentive or the ability to reduce energy consumption. Let me explain this better. Due to the higher energy efficiency measures supported by WAP, low-income households will automatically reduce energy usage if their pre-weatherization energy behavior remains the same or decreases. LHEAP simply pays the energy bills. The third difference between WAP and LHEAP is over the past 3 years, fiscal year budget plans have decreased LHEAP funding while increasing funds for WAP. The final difference between WAP and LHEAP is what I believe is the most important difference of all. This difference is that WAP benefits continue over the weatherization upgrade's lifetime, whereas LHEAP savings benefits are dependent on annual eligibility assessments. In the research section, I stated that U.S. households may be eligible for WAP if they fall at or below 200% of the poverty level. For LHEAP, households may be eligible if they're at or below 150% of the poverty level. Each year, LHEAP recipients need to complete an annual eligibility assessment to determine if they're still eligible for LHEAP. Here's the difference between LHEAP and WAP in terms of eligibility. WAP recipients only have one eligibility check prior to weatherization services. Therefore, WAP recipients benefit over the lifetime of the weatherization improvements, even if the household moves above 200% of the poverty level. Here's the result. Over 20 years, weatherization upgrades save low-income households an average of $437 annually in heating and cooling costs, and additional savings with energy-efficient appliance upgrades. As a reminder, for LHEAP, energy bill reduction benefits terminate when the client becomes ineligible for LHEAP. Next, we're going to explore the Citizens Against Government Waste statement that WAP is a Carter-era program. Just a personal note here, I really enjoyed exploring this section because the way I interpreted the statement was that the Citizens Against Government Waste was implying that WAP is not relevant today as it was relevant in the 1970s during the Carter era. Therefore, in order to determine my position on this statement, I had to look at some historical information in terms of energy prices and also policy. My findings led to the conclusion that WAP is still relevant today as it was in the 1970s. I hope you enjoy this section because I most certainly did. First, we're going to take a look at what exactly was going on in the 1970s when the Weatherization Assistance Program was created. During the 1970s, the desire to conserve energy became great enough to infiltrate federal level policy due to the energy crisis and concern over imported oil from unstable countries. One of these federal level policies was the Weatherization Assistance Program. In addition to the goal to reduce the burden of energy prices on low income households, the program's design also reduced oil consumption by 24.1 million barrels of oil annually. According to the Energy Information Administration, the oil price shocks of the 1970s led to increased utilization of coal-fired capacity for base load generation. These oil shocks were responsible for electricity prices at 16 cents per kilowatt hour. In comparison to the 1970s, today the U.S. is experiencing less reliance on imported oil as domestic production has increased. Additionally, the real value of residential electricity prices throughout the 1970s were relatively higher than today's price of electricity. With this information, it would seem impossible for me to make an argument that WAP is relevant today as it was in the 1970s. Additionally, it would seem like the Citizens Against Government Waste suggestion that WAP is not relevant today has some credence. However, let's take a look at this in terms of future government regulatory policy. The future regulatory policy we're going to take a look at is the Environmental Protection Agency's proposed carbon pollution rules for existing power plants. This proposed rule contains state-specific goals that reflect the EPA's calculations for emissions reduction. The EPA estimates that these rules will cause the price of electricity bills to increase by 34 cents to 40 cents per kilowatt hour in 2020. Although these increased prices would not match the 1970s real electricity prices, depending on the state of the U.S. economy and individual low-income household factors, these price increases may negatively impact low-income households. Unlike past climate change bills that failed to pass through Congress, such as the American Clean Energy and Security Act or H.R. 2454, the proposed EPA rules do not protect low-income households against price increases. Let's take a look at what H.R. 2454 did for low-income households. For the failed cap and trade bill, the Congressional Budget Office determined that the overall purchasing power for each U.S. household resulted in a net decrease of $925 in 2010. However, for low income households in the United States, H.R. 2454 would have created an energy tax credit and rebate to offset the loss of purchasing power for these households. For the proposed EPA rules, low income rebates and credits were not incorporated into the policy to offset the loss of low income household purchasing power. Therefore, if the EPA's rules negatively impact low income households, WAP is absolutely essential in keeping low income household energy bills lower relative to the cost without weatherization. Additionally, due to the fact that energy prices are volatile, higher energy efficiency provided by WAP can help to protect low income households. According to the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, incorporating higher levels of energy efficiency in long term planning can help protect utilities and their customers against volatile and rising costs of traditional energy resources. Summarizing my position that WAP is still relevant today, WAP is essential in protecting low income households against future energy prices due to regulation or price volatility. My next argument in support of increasing WAP funding is Congress should increase WAP funding because WAP's savings return on investment ratio can increase with additional investment for comprehensive energy behavior education. Although WAP's current savings on investment ratio is impressive at 2.51, as mentioned in my research section, less than expected changes in levels of energy consumption due to weatherization suggest WAP is not operating at maximum efficiency. This suggests that we should take a look at how this can be improved through comprehensive energy education. Before we take a look at improving client education, let's take a look at the difference between energy efficiency and energy conservation. In the research section, I discussed how weatherization can improve a home's energy efficiency. Here's the difference between energy efficiency and energy conservation. Energy efficiency is defined as the energy services provided per unit of energy input, whereas energy conservation is defined as a reduction in the total amount of energy consumed. Therefore, a low income household's energy consumption may be reduced with or without an increase in energy efficiency, and energy consumption may increase alongside an increase in energy efficiency. This may have just put a knot in your brain, so let me make it more simple. An energy efficient home itself does not equal energy bill savings. For example, I could have the most energy efficient home in the world, but if I like to leave my lights on when I'm not using them, or keep all my TV sets on, or do my dishes in the dishwasher with only 3 dishes in the washer, this is not very good energy behavior. And no matter how energy efficient my home is, my energy behavior is going to increase my consumption, which will result in higher energy bills compared to if I had good energy behavior. So, for my capstone project, I wanted to take a look at how comprehensive energy education behavior could influence WAP's savings on investment ratio. What I found was by decreasing WAP household energy consumption through comprehensive energy behavior education, WAP's saving to investment ratio increases by 101%. Back in the research section, I discussed WAP's SRI for energy impacts and also non energy impacts. For the energy impacts, which are the direct bill savings for low income households, WAP's SRI is 1.8. Adding comprehensive client energy behavior education, WAP's energy SRI increases by 1.82. With this, WAP's new energy SRI is 3.62. For non energy impacts, which include benefits to society such as jobs created and also the amount of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions abated through weatherization, WAP's current non energy SRI is 0.71. Adding comprehensive client energy behavior education, WAP's non energy SRI increases by 0.72 for a new non energy SRI of 1.43. Adding everything together with comprehensive client energy behavior education, WAP's new SRI is 5.05. I had the opportunity to present my findings at Penn State's College in Earth and Mineral Sciences poster exhibition on December 3rd, 2014. Here's a picture of me with my poster. It's hard to read the information on the poster with this picture, So, for a better picture, you can visit my website. Here's the address for where you can find the poster on my website. In addition, on the website, you can find out more information about me. And also, there's a contact form there too if you need to get in touch with me. You'll find this interesting, but for the EMS poster exhibition, I presented my poster remotely from my home in Arlington, Virginia. During the day of the presentation on December 3rd, 2014, my scheduled time for the presentation was 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. My understanding is a lot of the poster presenters stayed at their poster even when they weren't scheduled to present. Because I wasn't physically at the exhibition, I created a short video for anyone who was interested in learning about my poster during the time I was not presenting. Here's that video right now. Hello, my name is Lori O'Neill, and thank you for taking the time to learn about my poster. My poster's objective is to demonstrate how comprehensive energy behavioral education can increase the Weatherization Assistance Program's savings return on investment. First, I will give a brief overview of the Weatherization Assistance Program. This Department of Energy program is also known by its acronym WAP. In 1976, WAP was created with the overall goal to reduce the burden of energy prices for low-income U.S. households. To achieve this goal, federal funds are used to increase a home's energy efficiency. WAP energy efficiency measures include actions such as installing insulation, sealing ducts, repairing heating and cooling systems, and reducing electric baseload consumption. Currently, WAP savings to investment ratio is 2.51. The specific breakdown for every $1 investment is that WAP returns 71 cents in non-energy benefits, which include benefits such as weatherization jobs created and carbon dioxide equivalent emissions displaced through energy efficiency measures. For energy benefits, $1.80 is returned through energy bill savings for low-income households. Although savings surpasses investment by over 150%, some weatherized units produce less than expected changes in energy consumption due to the lack of comprehensive client energy behavioral education. Comprehensive energy behavioral education includes educating WAP clients how their behavioral changes can yield further decreases in energy use while increasing their energy bill savings. An example of a behavioral strategy is setting the thermostat lower during bedtime hours in winter months. Currently, most U.S. state weatherization programs provide basic energy education at the time of WAP's energy audit, but programs lack follow-up and motivational techniques to further reduce energy use. There is an opportunity to correct this issue and achieve additional energy bill and CO2 equivalent emission savings through comprehensive client energy behavioral education. In 2012, behavioral economist Dr. Deborah Brannon presented a framework for decreasing energy consumption by 25% through energy education that promotes behavioral changes. The major actions of this framework include utilizing motivational techniques and providing programs that help reduce energy consumption. To compute increases in WAP savings return on investment due to CCEBE, I propose the following specific actions related to Dr. Brannon's framework. First, an energy audit will be conducted annually to assess the performance of the energy efficiency measures provided by WAP. Second, energy education will be conducted annually in low-income households to review how to conserve energy and present new strategies for saving energy. These measures will start the second year after initial weatherization services were provided and continue over 20 years. Next, I completed the savings return on investment calculations with CCEBE's 20% further reduction in energy usage. Details for the calculation methodology
can be found under the Material and Methods section of the poster. The SRI results can be found under the Results section of the poster. With the calculations, I found that CCEBE increases WAP's savings to investment ratio by 102%. This is achieved through increased energy bill and social cost of carbon value benefits. If you're interested in learning more about Penn State's College of Earth and Mineral Sciences poster exhibition and seeing the amazing work of other EMS students, please visit this website. This concludes my capstone project presentation. I discussed what the Weatherization Assistance Program is and what energy efficiency measures are, and how they can save households money on their energy bills. For my topic question, should Congress continue to increase funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program? I support an increase in funding for the following reasons. First, WAP is essential for reducing the burden of energy bills on U.S. low-income households. On average, weatherization can lead to a savings of over $400 annually for low-income households. Second, with more investment in comprehensive energy behavior education, the Weatherization Assistance Program's savings to investment ratio can increase. Through my analysis, I found that by decreasing WAP household energy consumption through comprehensive energy behavior education, WAP's savings to investment ratio increases by 101%. Thank you for attending my capstone project presentation. I hope I convinced you that the Weatherization Assistance Program is a very important program in the United States of America. If I did convince you, please consider contacting your Congress member and tell them why you support an increase in funding for the Weatherization Assistance Program. You can find out how to contact your Congress member at www.usa.gov. And if you would like to contact me with any questions or comments, my email is lori@lorioneal.info. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you again for listening to my presentation.